Zulgad, Declan Goff, and we're going to continue our Vikings Tale of the Tape series here as we finish out the NFC North. We've done Bears, we've done Packers, and now it's time, Tale of the Tape, quarterback, head coach, offense, defense, total team, Detroit Lions, boys. Who's ready for it?
Oh, boy.
Let's try and get through this without laughing hysterically because I have a feeling that it's going to skew heavily toward
Matt
Vikings.
Patricia's going to be pissed if you laugh
I'm not a
too
cat
much.
guy.
Let me slouch a little bit more in honor of Matt Patricia.
Yeah, he hates you already.
Have a little respect for the process.
Yeah, just
come on,
growing my neck beard, sweating through my hooded sweatshirt, just like Matt Patricia, and being condescending toward reporters.
Put that pen right in your right ear too. Don't forget that.
That's what Ticey did, man. Don't worry, Ticey. That's great.
Yeah, but Ticey was at least respectful toward the assembled media, unlike Matt Patricia. Respect the Judd Zulgads of the world.
That's probably true.
So here is our tale of the tape here. Let's start with quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins or Matthew Stafford? Tale of the tape. Who do you got?
So this is not easy because I like Stafford. He obviously had some injury issues last season, but before that, I think he was really good statistically. And Stafford is a quarterback who I think is a victim probably of playing for a franchise that for the most part is discombobulated and simply does not get it. So this is very close. I'm going to give a slight edge 2020 to Cousins, but this is probably this one is very, very close for me. I'm going Cousins, but not by a ton here, just to be clear.
Okay, Declan?
Yeah, I like Matt Stafford. I made that pretty clear. I think he's very underrated and underappreciated playing for a dumpster fire in Detroit. But when we did our experiment, Kirk Cousins and Matthew Stafford is one of our subjects, I couldn't just swap them because I didn't think Matthew Stafford moves the needle any more than Kirk Cousins does. So I give a slight advantage to Cousins. It's not night and day, but if you're looking at the Vikings, I think if you swap the quarterbacks, I don't think it changes anything. So I would have to go with Kirk Cousins.
These are like, because we did a Kirk or blank episode in which Matt Stafford was included at one point a couple weeks ago. And I feel like Matt Stafford and Kirk Cousins are like the two closest quarterbacks. If you're comparing every starter in the NFL, when you get to Cousins and Matt Stafford, it's like wherever you have them in your rankings, they have to be right next to each other. Like if you've got Cousins 8th, Stafford's got to be 7th or 9th. If you've got Cousins 15th, Stafford's got to be 16th or 14th. And I kind of go back and forth on this because I think Kirk has put up the last couple of years. First of all, he's been more durable. Matthew Stafford missed games last year, and Stafford's been mostly durable too. But I think with Kirk Cousins, there's a slight. If both of them are pretty similar when they're healthy, and they're both going to put up kind of similar regular season numbers, and they're both going to put up similar PFF grades and things like that, the two things that have me leaning a little bit more toward Matthew Stafford are, number one, he plays for a garbage franchise that generally doesn't put great players around him. He's got some weapons, but if we're taking Vikings infrastructure over Lions infrastructure or versus Lions infrastructure, it's a no-brainer. Like Kirk Cousins has better everything, as we're going to go through here, probably in this tale of the tape, than Matt Stafford, and Matt Stafford still puts up similar numbers. And so if you gave Matt Stafford a better organization, I think he would go up a tick. And the other thing that puts Matt Stafford a little bit over the top, I feel like he's got a little bit more clutch gene. He'll throw a couple interceptions that shipwreck a game, but I feel like if, my gut says if there's 2 minutes left on the clock and you're on the road, like who has a better chance of blocking out the noise and doing something meaningful on that drive? Stafford's not Brady, but I would probably choose Stafford to lead me with 2 minutes left.
Problem
so I'm going Stafford.
Is today's Lions would thoroughly with Patricia screw that up,
and they might.
So like but
that's part of my point too.
If you strip Stafford out of Detroit and stuck him on the Patriots, who knows? But unfortunately for him, his career is almost completely going to be defined by playing for a dumpster fire organization.
Sure. All right. Well, that brings us to the next tale of the tape, which is head coach Mike Zimmer, Matt Patricia.
Okay, we can move on.
Yep.
It's Mike Zimmer, right?
I don't even want to talk about this. This guy, Matt Patricia, I hope gets fired about 8 games in. It's just he's a disaster. Like he is from day one. He is the poster child for all of the failed Belichickians.
Yeah, the problem with some of these failed Belichickians is they come in with this Belichickian confidence, yet they've accomplished nothing, And so I almost feel like you got to come in and just be a little bit more humble if you're a Bill Belichick coaching tree guy.
Giants coach will not call his players by their name because he thinks that's a good Belichickian idea, and it's something Belichick doesn't even do.
What is the logic behind that? What is
idiot?
But no, like what is his logic?
He's coaching high school football. Well, his logic is we are a team and individual names aren't important. What's important is who you are to Big Blue, the New York Giants. It's idiotic.
Yeah, I would say that.
Pro football? Are you serious? That's a terrible idea in college football.
Yeah, I would say in 2020, when trying to connect with male human beings between the ages of 21 and 30 or 35, not calling them by their names and trying to connect with them as humans is probably the last approach I would look to take. But
Yep.
I've never been an NFL head coach either. So
Take
we
a
all
shot.
agree.
Take a shot. Get a job.
Yeah, Matt.
You might as well try
I mean,
it.
Matt Patricia also has come in, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he's supposed to be a defensive guru, correct?
Oh, and they were awful.
Mike Zimmer might have inherited some better players on his defense because there were some like Everson Griffin, Harrison Smith. There were some stars on the defense when Mike Zimmer took over. Xavier Rhodes is ready to be molded. But by Mike Zimmer's second or third year, the Vikings were emerging as one of the best 5 defenses in the NFL. The Detroit Lions rank near last in almost every meaningful defensive category
Matt
last year.
Patricia alienated Darius Slay, who is a hell of a player, to the point where they had to trade Slay.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, it's bad.
Zim might not be the perfect coach, and Zim might dump on players at times, and it might not be the right move. But that would be like, instead of developing Rhodes, but back when Zim got the job here, you come in and piss him off, he becomes good, and then you have to trade him. They dumped Rhodes because he stinks now.
Yeah. They got
Anyway,
everything
he's a
they need
joke.
out of Rhodes. Well, actually, this is a good segue into overall team defense, and the answer is very obviously Vikings win this tale of the tape. But let's just dive a little bit deeper into the Detroit Lions from 2019. They were second to last in overall defensive rating according to Pro Football Focus, which is amazing. Their defense gave up an average of 6 yards per play. 6 yards per play defensively, which was, I believe it was bottom 5. It was like right on the fringe of bottom 5. And in terms of their pass defense, they were 4th from the bottom in average net yards per attempt allowed. The Vikings were top 5 in the NFL.
They
in that
gave
category.
up more than 400 yards per game. I think there were 2 teams in the entire league to do that. They were second to last. They were tied for 31st in sacks with 28. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, Matt Patricia is a defensive guy. He alienates Darius Slay, and the rest of his defense stinks. Nice work. Fire him now. You made a mistake.
Okay, let's buzz through this last category, and then I have some general questions about Lions and Vikings. So total offense is a little bit more of a debate because Matt Stafford, I have Matt Stafford as a better quarterback. Vikings, I think, have better weapons around, although the Lions have a couple weapons on offense. But where do you put Judd Zulgad, tail of the tape, total offense?
Lions win. I'll take Cousins over Stafford, but it's barely. Okay. Offensive line, Lions. Wide receivers, Galladay, Jones, Amendola. Galladay last year, 11 receiving touchdowns, and was 3rd in the entire league with 18.3 yards per catch.
Yeah, he might be the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL.
He's really good.
And tight ends, I'm going Vikings, but if the Iowa kid Hawkinson develops, he could be pretty good. But if I can go offensive line, wide receiver, advantage Lions, running back, advantage Vikings. But you know what? Detroit's got enough around Stafford now that Stafford actually shouldn't be a disaster in 2020. I'm going to give the advantage here. It's not huge, but I'm going to give it to the Lions.
Declan?
Yeah, I agree with Judd. I mean, you look at all the weapons that are in Detroit. Kenny Halladay, Marvin Jones. Did Marvin Jones, did he get axed? I wasn't for sure if he got traded or not.
He's still there.
The point is, I think there's a lot of good complementary pieces there that play well with Stafford. And when Stafford, I think the biggest difference between Stafford and Cousins is when the play melts down, Stafford knows how to roll out and improvise when the first read isn't there. And if you have playmakers too that can help you out in that category, then that's going to make your job a lot easier. So I do give a slight advantage on the weapons as a whole to the Lions. I haven't dug deep into the offensive line, but I got to imagine it's better than the Vikes. So yeah, I would give the advantage to Detroit.
Well, I'll give you the offensive line report. According to Pro Football Focus, overall offensive pass blocking, and that's been a spot for the Vikings. It's been really tough. The Vikings last year in pass blocking were 27th in the NFL. The Lions weren't much better. They were 21st, according to Pro Football Focus. In the run blocking category, the Lions were 9th and the Vikings were 12th. And so based on last year's evaluation, according to Pro Football Focus, offensive lines, neither one of them was great. Both were kind of like fringe bottom 10 in pass blocking. Both are okay in run blocking. As far as other things offensively, I'm a data guy. Eye test is one thing. I do think Matt Stafford is slightly better than Kirk Cousins, but if you go off the data from last year, the Vikings offense averaged an extra half yard per play overall. They averaged an extra half yard running the football per play, and they averaged an extra half yard throwing the ball per play. And if you add that all up over the course of a season, to me, there was a significant gap between the Vikings and the Lions offensively last year. But the Vikings lost Stephon Diggs, and so that might bring them back a little bit more toward the pack. I'm going to give a slight edge to the Vikings offensively in this tail of the tape. I think I can answer for all of us and say overall team, we're all taking Vikings, right? Vikings over Lions.
Absolutely.
So my question to you guys is, what type of a threat, either in the two games they're going to play against each other or in the overall standings, what type of a threat do the Detroit Lions pose to the Minnesota Vikings in the division in 2020?
So it feels like in recent years, Zimmer's success against Detroit has gone way up. I think he struggled against them for a few years when he started. The games against Detroit can be weird. So I don't know that I think the Vikings are going to sweep Detroit. I know that as long as Patricia is coach, I think they should sweep them. But in the division, this team went 3-12-1 last year, lost, I believe, their last 9 consecutive games, and in the plus minus of scoring were minus 82. So in the division, I'm sorry, until there's a different coach there, they don't scare me. I think they might give you a close game in Detroit or here. But as far as like, is this going to be the year the Lions pop back up? As long as that buffoon is coaching, absolutely not. Guys like him and Mike Gundy, I mean, my God. So if the division's going to be a tight race, certainly I could see the Packers, the Vikings, and maybe the Bears pop up. Don't know on that one. Detroit, last place team as long as this guy's coaching.
Yeah, they're 4-0 against Matt Patricia, right? They have not lost to Matt
I
Patricia.
think you're right.
I think that is correct.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think the Jim Caldwell teams gave Zim's teams some trouble, and that includes here at U.S. Bank Stadium. But yeah, they don't scare me with Patricia coaching them. So.
What's your level of concern about the Lions, Declan?
I have them more of a concern than Chicago for sure. I don't think I know the Bears still have a really good defense. I just think Chicago's going to be last in the division. I think they're coming down hard to earth, whether it's Nick Foles or Mitch Trubisky, and they're going to have to die by whoever is leading their quarterback in offense. And I don't trust Matt Nagy. I mean, Nagy and Patricia could go head to head on two big buffoons, right? I mean, who's the bigger dummy there? Stafford in his career against the Vikings, 8-11. So I mean, and some of that was with the Frazier years, and some of that's been with Zimmer too. So he has shown success against them. But I think when I look at everyone in the division, the Packers are the one that probably should scare the Vikings the most, Lions second, and then Bears third.
Yeah, I don't think I do think the Bears pose a bigger threat to the Vikings than the Lions do, because we know the Vikings history. It doesn't matter if the Bears are a division contender or if they're winning 4 and 5 games. Those games against the Bears tend to be grind them out for the Vikings. Like going into Soldier Field is not a gimme for the Vikings. Generally speaking, outside of, I think it was 2016, I believe, the Vikings lost twice to the Detroit Lions in the same season.
Yep.
Including maybe it was a Thanksgiving game, if I recall. They also lost once in 2017. So it's not the Vikings. The Lions aren't loser proof. I mean, the Vikings can lose to the Lions.
Teams actually did give them some problems.
Yeah.
But I think this current incarnation of the Lions is more on the verge of firing Matt Patricia after week 5 than giving the Vikings a hassle in the division.
So. I feel like the Bears, to me, are far more of a wild card in the I don't know. Like, I can't tell. Like, I was confident that coming off their great success in 2018 that they weren't that good, right?
Yeah.
And so, the defense had scored a ton of points, and you said they're bound to regress or come back a little bit in 2019. They did. But I'm not going to be shocked if they're not a dumpster fire then in 2020. I feel like Matt Patricia sets that franchise up until he's fired to be a dumpster fire, which is too bad. Matthew Stafford, for the arc of his career, deserves far more than he's got.
A little Lions futility trivia for you guys to end this episode, okay? When's the last time the Lions won a playoff game? What year?
Oh, God.
I
mean,
96?
I got to buzz you.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm looking at nothing. No, they've been to the playoffs a few times. I think they went in 94 and played the Packers as well. But they did not win that game. I am going to say the Lions last won a playoff game in the 50s.
It's 1991. Wayne Fonts.
Oh, that's right. They
1991.
played Washington. Damn it. They played Washington, I think, in the NFC title game, didn't they?
They may have. They got to the division
right,
round
Phil?
in 83. Yeah, they went to the conference championship in 1991.
Oh, man, I forgot. Damn it. I should have remembered that game.
They've only been to the playoffs like 10 times since 1950 or something. All right, how many times? So the Lions go back in history to 1930. Actually, the first 4 years of Lions football, they were the Portsmouth Spartans, and then they became the Detroit Lions in 1934.
Portsmouth Spartans.
Yes, they're going to run the ball left, run the ball right, run the ball up the middle.
Look at that guy go.
Yes, it's the wing T formation. So they've been around since 1930. How many times have the Lions finished back-to-back seasons with double-digit wins? Which, by the way, like in the last 40 years or so, like even with a 14-game schedule.
They have a good decade?
Yeah, I would say winning 10 games, going 10-6 a couple of times. Yeah, but not that impressive. Like the Jets do it sometimes.
But in the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, I mean, the most games that you played until they were playing
11 or 12 games. They started playing a 14-game schedule.
I'm going to say it's ridiculously
in the 60s.
low. I'm going to say it's like 3 times.
I'll go 5.
Keep guessing.
2.
Once.
0 times? They've never done it.
Then why are you a franchise still? Why are you not contracted? Why are you still a franchise? Why are you allowed to do this? Those poor people, that's a great sports town.
It's hilarious.
Oh my!
It is hilarious.
God, it's that bad?
No, it's not like the Vikings have done it a million times, but the Vikings finished back-to-back 10-win seasons.
Yeah, but they started in 61.
08-09. Vikings ran 3 straight in 98 through 2000. They did it in the late 80s. They ran 4 straight in the 70s, and then in the early, like they've done it a few times. The Lions have, in fact, you can actually count on, I think, one hand how many times they finished with 10 wins, period, ever in a season.
So, what is our right now? And obviously, it's going to be subject to change as the season draws closer if we play. What is our prediction since we've done the entire division on finish? Not even record, just give me finish. Like I've got Detroit last. Declan.
I think they finished. I think it's a transition year for the Vikings. I think they finish behind the Packers by a game, but I think they're a wild card team. I think they make the playoffs. I think they finish behind the Packers by a game.
I think the Vikings win the division, but I think I said it a few weeks ago. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 9-win division. Like I would not be shocked at all if no one gets to double-digit wins in this division.
Tough schedules.
Yeah. So. You know what? I'm gonna go Team Declan here. I got a weird feeling, and it might change, but I got a weird feeling about Matt LaFleur year 2, the acrimony with Rodgers. I don't know that the Packers have improved themselves. I mean, their first-round draft pick in 3 years, who knows? We might say great pick. But there's no question that their first-round pick in 2020 is going to, unless something goes drastically wrong, not help them and not play. I got a weird feeling, and I do think that you cannot start to judge a coach, especially a young coach, until year 2. Because I don't think players know that. I mean,
why were you so hard on Matt Patricia then?
You know, the whole. Why does anyone hire a Belichick guy?
Give the guy a chance.
Why does anybody hire a Belichick guy?
He's a young coach, man. Just give the guy a shot.
He's got like a Harvard degree.
Does he?
In like physics or something. He's a genius. Which is why he's a complete a-hole.
He might want to work on his social dynamics.
Well, but that's the thing is he has no social skills, probably because he's really, really, really
He
smart.
should work at a front office or something. That's what he should do.
Or just go work on something that'll help the country. Get out of football.
Well, that's a wrap on. We're done with the NFC North tail of the tape. We're going to jump into in the coming days and weeks. We're going to jump into other NFC foes that could be in the mix, relevant NFC teams.
Don't stop.
And do a tail of the tape.
Don't stop at NFC.
Seahawks.
Don't stop it.
Chiefs in the AFC.
Don't stop it. Exactly.
A little Super Bowl rematch. Thanks for hanging out with us here on Purple Daily. We'll catch you next time.